You entered a plea of guilty here to the third-degree felony of illegal possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Pre-sentence report has been prepared. If the parties had an opportunity to review it, are there any corrections or changes to it? State of Texas.
We've reviewed it. No objections or changes, Judge.
Mr. Burbank, on behalf of defense. All right, it's made a part of the record for all purposes. The agreement here is a cap. Whatever sentence shall not exceed a cap of 5 years in prison. So we are looking at no less than 2 nor more than 5 years confined in prison. The defendant could be placed on deferred or unadjudicated probation and could be placed on regular probation as well. Okay. State, you can go first and last if you wish.
Judge, there's a couple of things that jump out to me on this. Number one is to his benefit, he hasn't had any felony cases since 2008. The problem is that he really did his best to minimize
He's got this one, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And clear, his track history of handling probation is poor, in which the probation office points out. And by that, I mean he's been given a chance of probation before. Both all attempts at that has failed and resulted in him being revoked.
On 2 separate occasions.
Yes, sir. When you look at his the PSI, when you look at the version that the officers give at the time in which the incident occurs, Mr. Williams blames the guns on being his brother's. When he's later interviewed by the probation office, he says they weren't his, they were friends. So, I mean, we've got an inconsistency from the very beginning, and it's all about his attempts to minimize the situation here. I know what they're going to argue for is probation, and I don't believe in giving probation to people who don't accept full responsibility for the actions in which they're there. I also don't think probation is the right situation here because of the lengthy criminal history that this man has, even though it's been years since he's had a felony offense, and because of the additional factor that he's never succeeded with that in the past. I would ask for the 5-year sentence, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Burbank, on behalf of defense, go ahead.
Your Honor, thank you. As always, or most of the time, Your Honor, I look at it differently than Mr. Tam. I believe he did take responsibility when he was stopped. He was the one that told the police officers that in the trunk, not under a seat, not on his person, not in the glove compartment, that there were 2 firearms in there and they were packed away and they were not loaded. And if I had a brother, I would probably consider him my friend. Or if I had a friend that was a brother, it would be vice versa. But he was very forthcoming with the police officer and cooperative. The last time that he had anything was back in 2007 and 2008. No, with probation, it was state jail. He was revoked, but that's when he was a younger man. He's 43 years old, 44 years old. And he was a younger man back then. But since then, he has not been convicted. This is his first felony, TDC felony, and out of state jail. During this time, though, Judge, he is employed full time. He keeps a household. In fact, he does work for some law enforcement people still. So I guess he's trusted in what he does. And so we would ask, Judge, that you would consider probation. Of course, this court puts them on 10 years usually. And if they do well, then they could be let off early. I think he's an appropriate candidate, even though with his past history, many of the allegations that Mr. Ham has alluded to were either rejected or dismissed and have no idea why back in 18 and 14. The last time he was convicted was in 2008. I would ask that you would consider probation, except for the criminal conviction. Regular probation, Judge, there is no punishment enhancement on deferred. What I mean by that is if there was a second or a third, it would be more time over his head, but there isn't.
Anything you want to say?
Yes, I don't get into too much trouble.
I'm sorry?
I don't get into too much trouble. I take an 85-year-old woman. That's my girl. She's in the wheelchair. She's on oxygen. That's where I stay at. I work for Tyler Ward. I worked for 4 years. I work right across the street from a police station. I'm always at work at home. That's the only place that I can be. If I was granted probation, I would be good on it because I do have a job after that.
You've been in trouble.
I've been in trouble, but I don't get in trouble. That was not a joke. Mistakes.
How many convictions do you have
I had.
that you know of? Yeah.
One day I went to state jail. Just one day I went to state jail for 2,000. I think that's
Is that your final answer on that one?
that's not. It was the
Okay. Well, let me point out a couple of things that you apparently don't remember about your own life. Let's see. You were arrested in 2007 on illegal possession of controlled substance and placed on 2 years probation for a state jail. Let's say 2 years state jail, probated for 4 years. And that was on January 17th of 08 and a $500 fine. That was revoked about a year later, and you were sentenced to 1 year in the state jail. Do you recall that?
State jail.
Huh?
So
Then, let's see, there was a 2000 offense that was 2 months after, filed 2 months after the original illegal possession of a controlled substance. It was called abandoning, endangering a child. And you were placed on 2 years, sentenced to 2 years state jail and 4 years probation on that same day as the illegal possession of controlled substance. And it was also revoked on April 9th, and you were sentenced to 1 year in state jail. So that's 2 convictions. And to round out the field, in 2008, apparently you were charged again with manufacturing and delivery of a controlled substance and sentenced on April 14th of 2009 to 1 year in the state jail. Correct? That's 3. You had a little trouble with your math on your personal life, but you got 3 felony convictions. How many misdemeanor convictions do you have? Let's see if you can guess correctly. It's your life. Nobody knows more than you. Don't look over there. Do you have to have help on how many times you've been convicted? You have to have help on that? You've been convicted of illegal possession of marijuana in 2005, and loss of carrying a weapon in 08, criminal trespassing in 08, assault causing bodily injury of a family member in 2013. That's 4 misdemeanors and 3 felonies. That's a total of 7. Right?
Right.
Okay. We were a little unclear about your life earlier, but it's that clear now. Tell me, you were completely cooperative with the police on this when you were
I
arrested?
told them where everything was, and they stopped me. I told them where everything was. I did not tell them.
You didn't hesitate or?
Oh, they say things are stuff like that. I said, you go that trunk. You open that trunk, in that trunk, they have 2 guns. That's not only.
All right. Let me just refresh your memory what the police said, which is different from what you're saying.
Yeah.
I had Williams exit the vehicle and speak with Officer Allen, and I spoke with Thomas, and I began speaking with Williams, and I asked for consent to search his vehicle.
No.
Remember that? What did you do? What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said, yes, you can search my vehicle, but you can't search my trunk. That's what I said.
Right. You can search my vehicle, but you can't search my trunk where the guns are.
When they asked me that, I said,
Where the guns were, right?
told them.
You can search my car, just not my trunk.
Told them where the guns were. I didn't want to search.
I had dispatch. That's not what happened. That's not what their report is. I had dispatch check Williams for both national and local warrants. Due to his comments, I asked if he had any illegal narcotics in the vehicle. He said no. Then I had the canine, the dog respond, conduct an open air sniff. Are you going to interrupt me? Yeah, I see what happens here is you're in an environment where you control. Oh, you got 7 convictions. You're free fall. And dispatch advised Williams I had 1 city warrant along with multiple Jefferson County warrants. So I placed him under double lock restraints and advised him he was under arrest. I asked him for a third time, do you have anything illegal in your vehicle? Then you finally said, after being arrested, you had 2 pistols in the trunk. And then, so they searched the trunk. Inside, 2 handguns. And there we are here today. You, at this time, had 3 felony convictions. So you can't be in possession of power. And so here we are. The last time
I don't know.
you were put on probation and revoked for the state jail felonies, you received a year on each of those, I believe.
That's correct, Judge.
Um,
The only other fact, Judge, that I failed to mention that I'd like for Your Honor to take into account is both of those guns were stolen firearms. That I'm not sure that that's as detailed as it needs to be in the PSI, but after they ran the information.
Well, we don't have, you're not saying you have any proof he stole the guns. So.
No, but they were initially looking at a theft of
That's the
firearm
problem.
charge. Yes, sir.
That's why you can't get around them because you don't know what the history of them are. You don't control that, but certainly you can't get around them. You can't have possession of them. Here you are. You got 2 guns.
In the event that the court is considering probation for him, Judge, I would merely ask that if you're considering that it be the deferred option so the full range of punishment is open if he should fail.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to ask?
I just would point out that since the 2008 and 7 convictions, and I believe that, no, I wouldn't know how many convictions I had. He only went to state jail once, and I believe it looks like it was a plea bargain just to get rid of or combine all.
I understand. But there are 3 wrongful acts.
But yeah, but there's 3 convictions, but he only went once.
Plus the 4 other wrongful acts of misdemeanor that he was convicted of.
Yeah, but those were back from 2014, was it, Judge? Were they?
That's the most
What
recent.
did the great
Yes.
author say? What's in the past is never really in the past,
2014?
especially when you have criminal records,
Last one.
especially with criminal records. It's never in the past.
Yeah, 13.
Yes, sir.
I would ask, Judge, that you would consider probation. You put him in the high caseload, supervision caseload, and he is employed. He does have family here. See what he does.
And the state's final response, you were asking for one.
I still think, Judge, my position is always going to be when a felon has a firearm that we should look at prison time. That's why I capped it at that. If you're considering the probation, I would prefer that it's deferred so that I've got a full range of punishment whenever he comes back. If not,
All right.
then I would suggest that my original offer was 4 years. I still think that that's a fair amount of time, Judge.
The one thing you could do is give them weekends, 180.
Okay, under the recommendations as prepared by the probation office, that the court always pays a lot of attention to, because I respect their hard work and their great pride in 93% success rate on probation. The summary is the records in his case show that his criminal history is deemed extensive, and you have criminal activity going back 30, almost 30 years now, since 1997. And you received probation on other occasions. Those resulted in revocation. In this case, you took minimal responsibility for your actions, stating it was not mine, it was my friend's. He left them in my car. And the summary is this: the probation office just did not feel comfortable with your lack of what I can infer as you just weren't forthright with us. And right now, we have a proliferation of firearms running around this county. Just finished the trial yesterday, and the jury wasn't lenient. They've had it with people using firearms. It's a privilege. privilege that you have to be proven in your criminal record to be responsible in using them. You shouldn't even be near this. You knew it was in there, and your statements were to the police were an attempt to be forthright. You weren't about to let them look in your trunk because you knew there was trouble. Okay. If nothing further in this case, earlier you pleaded guilty voluntarily. You were mentally competent to do so. You understand and appreciate the consequences of pleading guilty. So there's sufficient evidence supporting your guilty plea from State's Exhibit 1 admitted here in your plea hearing earlier to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and I find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I am following this agreement. It is whatever sentence shall not exceed a cap of 5 years imprisonment. You are hereby found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and you are hereby sentenced to confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 2 years. And you will be given credit for all time you have served in conjunction with this. You've been on probation before and you failed. And you came right back and got involved in some things you shouldn't have. And we are the 22nd largest county with the 16th highest crime rate, and most of it is gun use, misusage. This court is going to do its part to try to protect this community. You've got to do your part to act responsibly, sir. And you've got a family at home that relies on you. You got no business peddling around town in vehicles with firearms. You need to stay away from those, especially with your criminal history. It's an automatic felony when you're found in possession of it. And it could be a federal crime too. Anyway, that's the order of the court. Thank you.